Good evening. We have a nice room here. Okay. Call to order. Heather, can you do the roll call?
Chairperson Silva,
Not here.
Vice Chair Guy,
Here.
Winterhalter,
Here.
Here, Mr. Evans,
Here.
and Ms. Wood.
Not present.
Okay. Moment of silence. Okay. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have an agenda and
Looks good.
any comments about the agenda?
Looks good.
Anybody wants to make a
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Aye.
onward ho.
Motion carried. The minutes of last month, November 23rd. Does anybody have a comment about
Make
it?
a motion to approve the minutes.
Second,
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
I would have to abstain. I wasn't
Yeah.
here,
The
but I did
rules we
read
got
them.
last time is that you don't, because I was, is that you can say you abstain, but you can still say if the rest of them agreed, I agree to let them go forward.
Oh, and I most certainly agree to let them go.
Okay.
All right then.
I did
Okay,
review them.
Okay.
so the subject today is review of conditional use application for 3743 West Chester Pike. So would you like to talk about it?
Yes, good evening, Commission members. My name is Mike Robb, last name is spelled G-R-A-V. I'm legal counsel for T.
Push the button on your.
Like me to start again?
Nice.
Okay, thanks. I'm legal counsel for T-Mobile. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I'm sorry to drag you out here on December 22nd. I understand I'm the only thing on the agenda, so I'll get through as quickly as we can. Mr. Chairman, as you indicated, this is an application for a conditional use approval by the Board of Supervisors for the co-location of antennas on the rooftop of the existing building located at 3743 West Chester Pike. And does each of the commission members have a copy of the site plan that was submitted with the application? Great, looks like you do. So there is an existing T-Mobile site, rooftop site, that is located about 0.15 miles away from the proposed site. And that's being decommissioned because it's located on the fire station, and the fire station is being raised, my understanding is. So again, we're relocating this existing site to this new location. And actually, the new location will be much better stealthed than the current location.
Excuse me, question.
Sure.
You're talking about which fire station, the old one or the
The
new
old
one?
one.
The old one, yes, yeah. In fact, I have some photograph here to show the commission, just so you have some idea of what the current site looks like. So I'll go ahead and pass that out to.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So beautiful, and you want to take it down?
So you can see it's not a very visually appealing site as it currently exists, but it is functional. It's critical to T-Mobile's function in the area. So fortunately, T-Mobile was able to locate an alternative site on the rooftop of the Hilton. And the plan is to place the antennas at two locations on the rooftop, and that's reflected in the zoning drawings that were submitted. But in this case, those antennas and all of the structures will be behind stealth screening. And so what I also have to present to the Planning Commission this evening that I don't think you have seen yet is what's called a photo simulation to show what the rooftop will look like from the ground level once the site goes up, if it is approved. So again, I'll hand this out to.
You indicated that the current one is being relocated, but there's a co-location, so you're also adding a tower?
No, we're
Oh.
not. When I say co-location, When I refer to co-location, in the industry, it means placing the antennas on an existing structure as opposed to building a new tower. So in this
Gotcha.
case, we won't be building a new tower. We're simply placing antennas on the rooftop.
And it's moving what is not necessarily the same exact structure, but it's basically the one that's going to be decommissioned. There's going to be a new one put on top of the hotel.
Like you're not gonna
Correct.
take
But
this
it's-
one, take it off
No,
and go and
No,
put it
it's
there.
gonna, it's gonna look vastly
Yep,
different. This
okay.
is gonna be an upgraded, newer, more modern technological structure in terms of the antennas. You won't see anything that looks like that with the new facility. And I'll show you that in the photo simulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
So this document, Commission members, is what's called a photo simulation, and it is a recreation or a projection of what the rooftop site will look like. So the first page shows the property in question. And then it shows, you can see there on the first page, numbers 1, 2, and 3. And those are the locations from which the photographs were taken in the next pages, in the ensuing pages, to show you what the rooftop will look like from those particular view sheds. So if you go to the second page, at the bottom, it says view 1 before. So this is how the building currently looks. And in the middle, or kind of at the top of the photograph, you can see that it says the middle section of the wall, this is on the roof, is to be rebuilt 3 to 4 feet taller using what's called radio frequency transparent materials, but used in a way that will match what's already there. So that shows, again, the view the way it currently looks. If you go to the next page,
It's a little
that's
higher.
the view 1 after. So that's what it's going to look like. You're not going to see antennas sticking up above that RF transparent material.
And it
So,
looks like a continuation of the existing building.
and that's the idea. So it looks exactly the same. Of course, that's the way the landlord wants it as well. And that's the way T-Mobile would want it. So if you go to the next page, just again, a different view location. This is view number 2 on that first page map. And it shows what it looks like now. And then if you go to the next page, it's view 2 after. And again, the idea is to show you what the increase in height in that stealth facade will look like from that view shed. And then on the next page, it shows the rear of the existing building. And again, it shows the center location where the antennas will be located. And if you go to the last page, that shows what that stealth structure will look like. And again, the idea is to mask the antennas and the equipment completely. Okay. So again, a very different view than the current firehouse site.
Visually speaking, this, from my opinion, is a non-issue. Like,
Yeah.
not a
It's
big deal.
amazing, actually,
Yeah.
what you can accomplish.
So yeah, I think it's hopefully a vast improvement. And in terms of the site, really, that's all that there is to it. It's the antennas located on the rooftop. The equipment cabinet that's associated with the operation of the antennas is located in the basement of the building, so it's not outside anywhere. We're not increasing the footprint of the building at all to do this. But because we are in a PRD zone and there was a PRD plan, we have to have approval from the Board of Supervisors for the site, and we're doing that via conditional use.
So you indicated that it's going to be a new tower itself, you're not literally relocating. It's going to be new technology,
Well, it's new antennas, yes. So we're not just taking those old antennas
right?
and moving them over
So
here.
is there signal strength, emission, anything different from what is currently present?
My understanding is, yeah, they're going to be upgraded antennas, so they're going to be better antennas, but all of the emissions comply with FCC requirements and standards. So they're far below what the maximum FCC limitation is.
I have a question about that. Is this the 5G technology?
I don't know that these are 5G antennas that are going in there. We can confirm that. And when we go before the Board of Supervisors, we will have witnesses there to explain exactly how the antennas operate. Candidly, I'm not sure about that. I can't
Well-
answer that for you tonight.
So I looked at the plans and I also visited the site. Visually, I don't have a problem. It doesn't look as appealing as the old one, but
And you're aesthetically
And,
challenged.
so that's not an issue. My concern is, and I'm not an expert on this, I must say, is about the potential radiation, because this site contains quite a few apartment buildings. And closer, first of all, the antennas will stand on an active hotel, which is occupied all the time. And also quite a lot of shops and restaurants and whatnot. So what I would like to see is some kind of a report by an authority who does that, indicating that there would be no danger of radiation, no harm may occur because of that to either people in the hotel or in surrounding areas. Again, I'm not an expert in cell radiation, so I don't know how far it goes. I just told my friend here that last week, and you may know about that, airlines actually went to Washington to complain about 5G cell towers that interfere with the instruments of airplanes coming to land.
I did see that information, yeah.
So I think I at least would feel much calmer if I knew that there isn't such a danger. So can T-Mobile produce such a study?
We can, and we'd be happy to do that. It would be a report that confirms that the emissions from the antennas comply with all FCC limitations. In fact,
But that doesn't tell us much.
well, it's about 1,000 times below what the FCC maximum limitation is. And the way that the zoning law is set up in Pennsylvania is, as long as the telecom applicant can demonstrate that it complies with those FCC guidelines, that's really the limit of information that it is required to present to the municipality in terms of getting these kinds of sites approved. Now, I can tell you that these are often located on buildings that are for public use or near residences or on schools. You often see those. So it is highly safe. So we'll be able to produce a report that will definitively say that. I don't know that I can produce a report that would talk about potential interference with avionics. I don't think that's an issue for this.
No, that's not an
particular
issue
site, right?
here. I just
Right.
it just came on the news, and so.
Sure, no, I understand perfectly, but no, we would be able to produce a report that I think the township and the Board of Supervisors would find acceptable.
I'm inclined to agree because the 5G towers are everywhere,
Mhm.
right? The FAA told the FCC not to approve what they approved. The FCC said was fine. That's the flight group. The problem is we have helicopters coming in there quite a bit to SAP. So that's kind of my issue. Like, so my brother's a pilot for Delta and he was saying, hey, the FAA told the FCC, don't do this. We're having problems with our instruments when we come down in. I don't think there's any airport issues near us, but there are the helicopters that do come in. That's the only thing. Look, visually, it's great. I think the 5G thing's fine. They pretty much are everywhere nowadays. I'm good there. Maybe more about that helicopter issue with SAP. Does that cause a problem with the helicopter instrumentation? And then we've got a helicopter crashing or something like that.
Well, and I'll confirm first that these are 5G antennas. I don't know that for sure, but we'll confirm that. And if they are, we will definitely either way produce a report. And to the extent that we can address those issues, we'll do that in the report.
I don't think that if it is 5G or 4G matters much, because soon enough there will be 6G. But but the issue is we need the report to be specific, I believe. Well, if the helicopters are an issue, then maybe the report can point that out. But most important is the proximity to people who are there. And to say it complies with the FCC regulations is fine, but I think we need the report to be more specific.
Well, and I'm sure we can produce a report that will definitively say that it doesn't pose any harm to humans or animals in the vicinity. I think there are restrictions that workers on the rooftop would have to take into consideration if they're up there servicing the antennas. Usually they're turned off when that happens, but and that's real close proximity, literally standing right in front of the
Yeah, but
antenna.
I'm talking about people who stay at the hotel, for
Sure,
instance.
in the next floor down in the hotel, absolutely, yeah. And we can produce a report that will confirm that.
And who, by the way, would write this report? T-Mobile or an independent body?
It would be a contractor to T-Mobile. They would engage the services of a radio frequency engineer who's qualified to produce that report. So they're an engineer and they will place their seal on it to confirm that the information is accurate.
Any comment?
I had 3 boxes to check. The visual, I'm fine. Second box, I think I'm okay with the 5G. There's enough 5G towers around. Yes, maybe the report. The one that bothered me a little bit was the helicopter and the instrumentation. So two of them I'm probably fine with. That third one with the helicopter instrumentation, I don't know how we go
Well,
through that, but
we can ask that the report will discuss that point.
I'm inclined to approve the application. He's looking for a conditional use approval that has to go before the Board of Supervisors.
right.
I'm inclined to approve the application with the recommendation that with the proviso that the antennas being installed will be compliant and within the confines of appropriate health standards from an RF engineer, from a radio frequency engineer. So that way it moves off of here, they can move to the next step, but it's
Dependent
conditioned
upon-
upon ours. Like, we're not going to sit here and suggest that an
whether
it's-
RF
No, no.
engineer is or is
Successful or
not
not,
giving it.
right.
I mean, I think that let's approve it with, or I'm in favor of improving it with the provision that we strongly recommend that a report from an RF engineer be presented to the Board of Supervisors at the time it's presented, addressing those health concerns and radio frequency concerns. And I think that
Should we
moves the ball forward.
specifically say that they should address the helicopter issue or just generally, as you said?
I think that the engineer will know the confines of which he would be obligated. I think certainly the safety of the person in the room below where the antenna
That's
is.
talking about the helicopter.
I
show. Oh, okay.
understand. I think that the radio frequency engineer is going to say that there is interference within a certain range. And I fully anticipate that that range will be far shorter than any helicopter will come anywhere near that location.
I don't know if the airlines have a problem with landing, so it may.
That's a difference between cell phone emission and an
No,
antenna.
no,
emission.
we're not talking about the cell phone. That,
This is a cell phone tower.
yeah, exactly
Which is
that.
different than a cell phone emission.
Right.
Yeah, I would think this is probably
Yeah,
more
I think-
powerful.
But yes, agreed.
Well, the issue with the airlines, and this is what Paul checked now with his brother, is that last week it was on the news that the airlines went to Washington to complain to the FCC that their pilots have a problem landing near several major airports because of 5G towers close to the airport. Well, that's pretty far away though. And
No,
that's a point.
I think, isn't it rather, we have to be careful and that we don't mix apples and oranges. So in other words, if the FAA is having difficulties because let's say the combination of 5 towers gets to be enough interference with the mechanicals of the, or whatever of the airlines, we don't know that. We're absent of any information. So I think that the information that we need is at what point does the volume of whatever it is that's causing interference take hold? And would that whatever level of whatever that's being emitted that causes interference from this singular tower have an impact on a near, what distance would it have an impact on a helicopter? So if the helicopter is further beyond that distance, then the helicopter's fine. If that tower doesn't emit enough anyway, then it's fine. if the airline situation is because there's 10 towers.
Well,
don't know
yeah,
that.
The
That's
report.
what- that's what
exactly.
they're
Yeah, and
report needs to
I'm
tell
inclined
us.
to agree with Paul relative to,
Both situations.
hey, I texted my brother and asked him about that this doesn't hold up in a court of law. I'm just saying this isn't,
Nor does watching it on television or reading it in the newspaper.
Fair
You
enough.
know, You
Exactly.
would like to have some empirical data and
Exactly.
And I
that's what
think
I'm
that
the same
if you have
mindset.
the engineer and, you know, I'm sure that Mr. Grob has heard what we said. And I mean, if that RF engineer can throw something in about aeronautical concerns, I'm sure he'll do that.
To the extent that we can, I'd be happy to do that. I'm just
And-
not sure how much science there is on that particular issue yet with regard to helicopters. but if
Well,
we
this
can,
is
we
just
can
an
look at
anecdote that came
Sure.
up, but just that the RF engineer who will write the report should perhaps just make a point that there is no danger to
It can be
people
easily
next
solved
to
if there's a trauma center with a helicopter unit that's got a tower on it. Then T-Mobile must know that in their arsenal of towers.
so
If that
again,
doesn't
back to
check the
Paul's,
box, then it's
back to
done.
Paul's point, I'm inclined to say, let's conditionally approve,
Yes.
subject to X and Y. Kick it up to the Board of Supervisors, let them get the testing, get the report, and boom.
Paul, will you make the motion?
Surely.
But before that, please, I would like to hear if there is anything from the audience.
Oh, that would be me. Evening, Nathan Glazer, 3538 Cayley Road. All I want to say is that two things. One is I agree. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be improvement aesthetically, and that in and of itself, because what's there right now is fairly ugly. My own feeling is I think caution is always warranted with electronics, but in all honesty, I don't think it's a tempest in a teapot issue. I think the amount of time somebody would hypothetically be exposed to any radiation in the hotel in a short stay environment, it's unlikely to have a biological
There are
effect.
people who work there.
And again, yeah, but I'm saying overall, I think the direct exposure. I was going to simply suggest maybe on a more direct path, why doesn't the applicant make a phone call down to the SAP where they have a helicopter and ask the helicopter pilot? They're flying the thing. They fly it in and out. I don't even know what their flight path is. I don't know if their flight path even comes near this, but simply pose the direct question, hey, we're going to put a tower up. Would that have any concern for your helicopter pilots?
Yeah, it's probably gonna head right to the SAP General Counsel or something, and then it's gonna create.
Well,
Maybe they could get the information in another way.
it just seemed like a more direct getting from point A to point B,
Fair.
because the helicopter pilot's the one we're really talking about.
Okay, just
And
look
they
up
would
a
either have a concern or they wouldn't have a
hospital,
concern.
trauma
But
center.
outside of that, I mean, I think it's, again, it's overall, it's a step in the right direction, good idea. And I'm not going to wear any aluminum foil on my head in the immediate future. There have been residents who've come to these meetings who've actually believed that stuff, so.
Thank you, Nate.
All right.
Okay,
we're
Paul,
ready.
would you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Real quick, so, and I traded emails with Rich on this. We don't actually think it needs a conditional use approval. It needs an amendment to the tentative PRD
PRD.
plan and then a final plan approval. So it's an amendment and final plan. That's kind of the process that
So
EPG's been going through.
with that.
You're looking for a
commentary-
final approval from us,
And an
tonight.
approval to the amendment to the
Oh,
tentative
condition.
PRD
So
and a
we-
final.
subject to the condition
Subject to the
of
conditions
data
that-
provided to the Board of Supervisors that is sufficient to ease the concerns of X and Y.
Yes.
So just my only question is, who's writing the amendment?
This
This
whole
is the
project
amendment.
is an amendment to the original.
I
plan.
see, okay.
Yeah.
An
Right, this
amendment
Project
to
is an amendment
to
to
the-
their PRD tentative plan.
The whole project.
No,
Because
Jim-
it's a PRD, it's a zoning district, it's an overlay district. And
You
it
didn't
requires
write
this
any letter, right?
process in order to get anything that's a modification of the original plan approved. They filed a conditional use application simply because our application itself doesn't have
A box.
a box, a checkbox for PRD tentative plan approval. So the conditional use was the more direct way of doing it because it goes ultimately to the Board of Supervisors.
Mhm.
So we're looking for both tentative and final plan approval?
I would say yes, yeah.
So you
Okay.
didn't write any review letter, right?
I did, but he addressed it
Oh,
with his, my only concern was the visual their original plan said there's gonna be a screen, and I just didn't know what that was gonna look like,
Okay.
and then he provided this, so.
One other comment that, and I don't know if it's a concern of the planning commission or not, but I'm just interested in whether or not you want to require co-location. I don't know if this site is being made available for co-locations to eliminate multiple sites of this, things like this. throughout
Explain
the
that
township.
deeper.
Pardon me?
Explain co-location.
Co-location where you'd make this facility available to other carriers.
But
With
we would only-
additional-
That's a good point, but we would only be able to do that if we were building a new tower that T-Mobile owned. Here, we're placing the antennas on the rooftop owned by somebody else. So what we're doing is in and of itself called a co-location, because we're putting antennas on an existing structure as opposed to building a new structure, put antennas on. And you're absolutely right. If we were building a new tower, requiring co-location for other carriers absolutely should be required. But here, we wouldn't have the ability to say that other carriers
They don't own it.
can co-locate on the rooftop because we don't own the rooftop.
Well,
So there's no other carriers on the existing site that's being
That's
dismantled.
No other carriers that we start proposing to go to this rooftop. That's my understanding.
It may be going somewhere else.
I don't know if there are any municipal antennas on this, on the existing fire station.
I don't have that answer. I don't know.
so what prevents, I'm sorry, what prevents another cell company to come and put new antennas either on the same roof or let's say on the roof of the supermarket?
None.
Nothing, they just have to go through the same process.
But we
Right.
can't compel the hotel to put any more antennas on there. That's the hotel's decision.
I guess my concern was the fact that we're I think I heard that the existing tower on the current fire or in the old fireplace is being dismantled. But if there's existing other carriers other than T-Mobile, is that actually going to be totally dismantled?
Well, then we are here asking, the
T-Mobile is here asking.
Yeah, so
no,
how is
we-
that relevant to him though? Because if there's 5 at the old fire department
I'm
now,
just trying to really
I
make
agree with you.
it clear
I'm-
on what is being presented and why.
So I'm saying relative to the approval that that they're asking for, if there's 5 towers at the old fire department, he's only here for 1 and he's telling us they're not going to put anything else on it.
no, on his.
He's saying he
I-
doesn't have the
agreed.
ability to say that because he doesn't own the building that it's
Correct.
going on.
And so the next
So-
guy that comes along is going to have to A, get approval from the hotel, and then B, come right back here.
Yes.
Because we might say 1 was enough, we don't want 2. They don't know that. So
Why
he's
did-
here for his tower.
Mhm.
It's going to the Hilton. End
Why-
of that story. He gets amended into the PRD for that.
Uh-huh.
And then the next guy who wants to do something that has 2 gauntlets to get through. One is the Hilton and the second one is right here again.
So that doesn't really matter.
But then if we are
If
talking
either way I
about
heard it.
the radiation, now there will be not only T-Mobile, there will be.
Fair,
one or
that's a
more.
different
But
issue.
that's gonna be another review. Then we
That's
can say
going to
we
be
don't
another
want it for
review.
that
I'm
reason.
saying I don't know if it's really relevant to tonight's
I don't
discussion.
think it is.
Yeah, I guess I was unaware as to whether or not this site was just serving, and it's clear to me now that it's just serving T-Mobile.
I think as long as the amendment doesn't open up for anybody and anybody to do anything they want, then we're good. If this amendment specifically is for this situation,
Which it is.
then
Yeah.
we're locked tight. If it opens, say, well, this can be used anywhere on top of this roof anytime, I
No,
wouldn't agree to
It's,
that.
it's this particular situation, this particular building and those locations.
Good,
All right then.
good.
Okay, Paul, do you want?
We ready? Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion of this commission to recommend an amendment to the PRD tentative and final plan, allowing for this approved request with the proviso that a report that the antennas to be installed will be compliant with and within the confines of appropriate health standards from a radio frequency engineer.
Fair.
The tentative and final.
I said, yes, tentative and final plan approval. So we're doing them both at the same time. But, and that with the proviso that a report that the antennas to be installed will be compliant with and within the confines of appropriate health standards from a radio frequency engineer.
Good.
Okay,
Second,
everybody,
Yeah, I second the motion. Or you
Well,
second it? Yeah.
second.
okay, everybody supposed to say aye?
I'm
Aye.
in favor.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Aye.
All right, thank you for
Have a
coming
good
out
evening.
this
You
crazy
too.
week. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Merry
too.
Christmas to you as well.
All right,
No other business?
do we have anything else? We have a list from 7 to 12, but is there anything in there?
Nothing in them.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Second the motion.
Get out of here. Is this the quickest meeting ever?
I think it is.